Well, we are live here with Coffee with Humans in a beautiful afternoon. So neither one of us has coffee. That's the dirty secret about Coffee with Humans. Not everybody drinks coffee. But I'm here with Deirdre Tshien. I don't know Dierdre. We met 8 minutes ago.
Yep.
And we purposefully talked about nothing of any consequence since then.
It was an awkward 8 minutes for sure.
Right? I was like, hey, let's just sit here and stare at one another. And then I glanced around as though I was doing something really important. just so you felt like, oh, he's occupied. That's the cool thing about Coffee with Humans. For those viewers who are not used to this thing, it's one of the, I describe it like this. If you're at a party and then you go to the buffet and then it's like, oh, crab cakes. And then we both reach in for it and we're like, oh, no, you go. Oh, no, you go. Oh, well, let's just talk. Hey, how you doing? What's your name? And then we sit there awkwardly eating crab cakes. That's what this is.
Yeah, it feels about right.
Well, welcome.
Just sitting awkwardly here.
Exactly. Yeah. Welcome. I'm so glad that you joined me. So tell me, why did you click the button to have coffee with me? What was in your heart and soul?
Oh, look, I think to be honest, your logo, I think really pulled me in.
Yeah? A bald guy? A bald cartoon?
Yeah, I was like, this guy has got to be fun, right? It's like, look at that. It definitely was started with the logo. And then I was like, I'm super intrigued because there is absolutely no information here. Why not? Why don't I just hop on and let's just have a chat?
You are a strong soul to be like, there's no information here. Let's talk with him.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, I'm glad that you joined me. So no information and a bald guy and a logo was the thing that did it for you. And you don't even drink coffee. I know that much about you. Even though it was Coffee with Humans, you're like, let's do this.
I think actually it was one of my first things to you. Also, I was like, yeah, I don't drink coffee. Do I still count? I
was like, you can drink anything you want.
Yeah, that's right.
I recall that. Yeah, I've got my water bottle here. I think you've got what do you got over there?
I've got tea. I'm a tea drinker, not a coffee drinker. So just to add another layer of awkwardness onto this, it was like, yeah, I'm not really a coffee fan. I like tea.
Do I have to be a coffee fan to have coffee with another human? That's the great question of today. That's funny. Chad, one of our viewers here, doesn't like my explanation of what Coffee with Humans is about. He didn't think the crab cakes thing was good.
Oh, right. Okay. I thought maybe it was about my explanation on coming onto this.
I don't think he's picking you apart. That's terrible. Well, Chad, if you have a better explanation, you're welcome to put that in the comments. Well, so Dierdre, welcome again to Coffee with Humans. This is exciting to have you on. What is it that intrigues you? What is it like? What is it in your personality that would draw you into a show where you know nothing, you don't drink coffee, and you like the logo? Are you just naturally an outgoing, like spontaneous person?
Oh, you know what? It's so funny. Like, and I know that we can go. Maybe this is going to be the topic for today.
I don't know.
Let's see.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Do you know about the 6 basic needs that like Tony Robbins talks about?
I'm going to say no.
Anyways, yeah. So he talks about these six basic needs that humans have, and one of them is they're like certainty, uncertainty, love and connection, significance, growth, and contribution. I think there we go. So 6 of them, and it was so funny because I've always been someone who needs certainty, always, right? Like I've kind of needed to have the secure job. I needed to have have bought a place that I know that I won't get booted out anyway. Like I've always needed that. And long story short, fast forward to now, and I look at myself and sort of the things I've been doing and am doing, and I have actually completely changed. So I actually really revel, or I guess a sequence of events have happened, and I feel really actually quite liberated by the fact that I am actually probably more wanting uncertainty, more wanting growth, maybe growth out of the uncertainty. So I think that was kind of what drew me in ultimately. I'm actually an introvert, funnily enough. So, so I don't really know if it's the fact that I actually wanted to have a conversation with another human being, because to be frank, that's not really high on my
right.
my priority list. But I don't know. It was just in the moment. I was like, hey, why not? This sounds kind of intriguing. Let's just go for it. So that's kind of what happened. Yeah.
So you've always wanted a high degree of certainty, I'm assuming that means safety to you.
Yeah, and security, and being comfortable and things like that. Like my my background is my parents are from Malaysia. You might be able to tell from my accent that I'm not from the States. I am actually Aussie.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. I'm not good on the whole UK Australian accent thing.
I thought, I should have asked you actually.
I'm really terrible at it.
Yeah, because everyone, a lot of people here think that that we have British accents. So anyway, when I was a baby, my parents moved over to Australia from Malaysia, and essentially, like a lot of first migrant families, it was to give us, my older brother and I, a better life, more opportunities, which I'm obviously forever grateful for. But I think with that comes certain expectations that, whether it was them that put it on me or myself, just growing up in that kind of environment, I've always felt the need to sort of keep achieving. And then I think with that, and you always get told as first migrant, kids, you always just have to work hard, make good money, buy yourself a house, settle down, do all the things that means that you have a stable, secure, comfortable life. That was kind of that was the thing for me. So that was always my goal. Go to university, do it. I ended up doing a law degree. My dad is super disappointed because he wanted me to become a doctor, and that didn't happen.
So you went into law instead?
So I did law.
Or did you just get the degree and then you went to like barista or something?
Yeah, kind of. If barista equals investment banking.
Well, hey, there you go. That's fun.
So I did that for a bit, but realized very quickly on that corporate was not going to be my speed. It was not going to be for me, and went into entrepreneurship instead. So that's kind of what I'm doing now. So for actually the longest time, so I started my first business 8 years ago. But I was still, it was funny, coming back to that need for certainty. Because I was doing it with my then boyfriend, he's now my husband. We started this business, and it was quite a capital intensive business. So it was a dessert bar, which meant we had rent, we had wages, we had, to fit out. So it was like very capital intensive. And I think with that, with all of that came, I was like, no, one of us has to have an income, right? We need to, at least of all to fund the business, but definitely to fund our lives. I can't deal with the uncertainty of not knowing where money is going to come from. So I actually worked full time and had the business for quite a few years, actually, and which, so that definitely plays into my need for security, but I think that actually really held us back. It definitely held me back quite a bit. And then a chain of events happened, and which I can go into now, actually. Maybe I'll just talk about that now. So for about a couple of years ago, about 2 years ago ish. No, actually 3 years ago now, we found out that, so we had a few locations. One of our locations was in the heart of the city. So it was one of our top performing locations, one of our top performing stores. And we had just found out that the store manager we had at the there, who had been with us for like 5 years or something, like a good amount of time, who we trusted, who we were kind of grooming to be kind of our second in charge. We found out that he'd been stealing from us.
Oh no.
And quite a lot of money. Like I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of money over the period of time that he was with us. And I think it was just like, you just sometimes need something jarring to like get you out of just the mundane, just out of the hamster wheel of just doing, like you wake up, you do the things, go to bed. Like it was just that, right? And I think that was at that moment that sort of jarred me, to be like, is this actually what we did all of this for? Like, is this the kind of life that we want to be living right now? And I had always wanted to live and move overseas. And it was kind of that was like, well, hey, I've always had this dream. I've always had this, I've always wanted to do this thing. Why don't we just go, am I allowed to swear on this? Like,
you can.
I am. I can. Yeah.
You're allowed.
Fuck it all.
Every time you swear, I'll be like, beep. Just slightly after, you'll be like, fuck it, sweet.
Okay, good. And just, pack up and move somewhere. So that's kind of what we did. And,
wow.
And I think that was really liberating, because that's what I mean by that transition from like needing that certainty and needing that income and needing all those things to like, sold the apartment, packed up. I think we came over in like 9 suitcases or something. 9 suitcases and our cat. And we were like, don't know what's going to happen.
Wow.
And now here we are in New York City.
Wow. Okay. So for a person who's an introvert and who wants security, to then find out that you, in your hypothetically, or what you thought was a very secure world of careful growth and, management, you found that even in that, sometimes all hell breaks loose for just a moment, and you're like, oh, even in security, there is insecurity. Yeah. So why be so tied to it? Is that kind of where you're, what broke in you?
Yeah, I think so. And I think it was just like, totally, I think you're definitely right. And even just looking at what were we doing? Because I was still, still working full time. Not really, my heart wasn't really in it, because I knew that was just a means to an end. So I was like, well, why am I why am I just whiling away this time? Because time is, you never get that back, right? And so it was just one of those circuit breaker moments where I was like, nope, something has to change. And it's scary, but it was also one of the most liberating decisions ever, because I think with that, like, when you just make a decision, then everything else follows. So for me, mindset shift, even things with the business, we put things into motion, then into action, that we probably wouldn't have, because it forced us to, right? How do we make sure that everything is completely systemized, operationalized? Because they're still running. We're on the other side of the world and they're still running. But we just had to, be like, again, fuck it. Let's just see what happens. Just do it and see.
So your business in Australia is still running?
Yeah. So they're still running.
Okay. So stepping away then, so I've worked with businesses, so I'm just hypothesizing here, and correct me if I'm wrong, but by stepping away and moving across the world, it forced you to put systems and processes in place that probably had not been in place before, which allowed, such kind of a shitstorm to be created or allowed. And now you've kind of plugged those holes, and by moving away so far that you had to manage it, better.
Yeah, definitely. So that's the thing. It kind of like, it forces you to do certain things. I mean, now at least we do have someone someone we trust, and someone who's senior sort of on the ground, who can really look after it as such. But yeah, we kind of didn't even have that. So it's just all of the things that happen as a result of this decision that you make. It's hard, but good things come out of it, I think, ultimately. Everything happens for a reason. I'm a big believer in that. So so that's kind of what happened. And then again, everything does happen for a reason, because we come over here. We're like, don't know what's going to happen. I invited one of my best friends to come as well, because we were looking at potentially starting a business. And it was just, again, one of those things where we were having brunch in our favorite cafe in Sydney. She was having coffee. And I was just like, hey, by the way, we're moving over to New York. You should come. She was like, okay.
Really?
Pretty much.
Wow.
And so we started a business over here. My husband found a job. So we're doing pretty well.
Wow. That's fascinating. Did you get any pushback when you decided to make these big courageous changes from family or friends?
No, surprisingly not. So my brother was already living overseas. So he actually, he lives overseas. And then my parents were like, well, there's nothing really holding them, in Sydney anymore. So they moved back to Malaysia to be, I guess, as they get older and then their family and friends get older, it's good for them to be with with the people that they love.
Yeah.
So I think, there was really no pushback with it at all.
Wow.
People were probably like, yeah, please move. See you later.
So being an introvert in all of this, how did you find that your introversion was stretched or redefined?
It's funny. So, because as you know, like introversion and extroversion is very much more about like how you get energy. More so. That's why I think people, when they aren't aware, they get sort of confused. They're like, "You're an introvert," because I can be, all of the, bubbly and all of those things and outgoing, but after this, I can guarantee you that I'll probably like be super exhausted and I'll just fall in a heap on my bed. So the funny thing is that the business that I'm in, which is even more hilarious. So my co-founder and I, we started a coaching business. So we actually coach now e-commerce businesses scale or grow through the power of human connection, tribe building, and sales funnels. So that's kind of what we do now. And it's really, really funny because I, for whatever reason, was thrust. So I was thrust in the role of being like the front person. So kind of almost being the salesperson, the one who connects, which I actually really like doing. I think that's probably, even though I'm an introvert, why I enjoy talking to others is this connection, right? That I really like not only sharing my story, but learning about yours, which we are going to get to, because that was one of my questions, which I was like, I can't ask this question, can I? And just getting to know people and how, if anything, like I can help or anything like that. And so being in a coaching business, we have to obviously, deal with a lot of humans which for me is actually exhausting. Now, the good thing is my co-founder, she's an extrovert. So a lot of times I'm just like, I just can't deal with all of this, so she has to kind of pick up the slack and be, and definitely sort of be the one to front a lot of things on the definitely the coaching side and things like that, because I only really have I think I can only do short bursts of human interaction, and then I need to have a nap, and then go again.
Well, one of our viewers, again, Chad, he's thinking that you don't seem like an introvert, and I agree with you. But having also done a bit of research on introversion versus extroversion, I'm an introvert as well, and people wouldn't know it because I'm very good out in front of people. I can be that front person. And I can be the guy on stage and I can, draw people in, but it's exhausting at the same time sometimes.
Yeah.
And in the small group is where I develop my, kind of get my energy back. And then also in quiet, just a significant amount of quiet. And that varies with my stress level. If my stress level is high, I need a lot of quiet. Or at least very small groups, one or two people and has to be close. Kind of an intimate sort of group where I don't have to perform, right?
I think, well, Chad said liar, so.
Oh, Chad, thanks for that.
So is there something you're not telling us?
That's true. The last guest, I was like, I'm an extrovert, and I'm totally an introvert. but it is. I mean, it is curious to me, this idea of being an introvert and then being thrust into that front person role. You certainly can. You obviously can play that role. My curiosity, though, and just kind of looking at the lens of my, through myself when I'm asking this question, my curiosity is that in being an introvert and then being in that front role, do you like that front role?
Oh, good question. I've actually really learned to love it actually. So I resisted, and that's kind of why I say I was thrust into it. I feel like I was more like shoved into, you're doing this. And the great thing is, because I'm always about, I haven't always been like this, by the way, but I've found, and this is where, again, I guess the uncertainty and the growth comes in, is that I want to be put into more and more uncomfortable positions, because that's really the only way that I can learn anything and become hopefully a better version of myself. And so I've always resisted. I've hated anything like sales, like all of that. I've resisted it my whole life. I remember when I was in uni, talk about being an overachiever. I had 3 jobs while I was studying full time. And one of those jobs was in, it's a store called Harvey Norman in Australia, which is kind of like a Best Buy equivalent here. So they did like electronics and things like that, and, computer goods and stuff like that. And I just remember how uncomfortable and how almost like slimy and sleazy I was when I was told, I was like, just get on the floor. People told, like my manager told me, just get on the floor and just sell stuff. And I'm like, I don't know any of this stuff. And he was like, don't, just look at the box and just read what's on the box.
Right.
So as I'm talking to a customer, I'm just like reading with them what's on the box. So my early experiences with sales was like not great. And and ever since then I was like, nah, this is not for me. I'm not good at it. I'm not the person. There are other people who are better at it. So, it's just not me.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can see that there's just a lot of like self-limiting beliefs, or a lot of things I was telling myself about why I couldn't do it. When in reality, we can do it. Like we're human, so we can really do whatever we want if we put our minds to it. So I think, even coming into this role, we kind of knew someone had to do it. Otherwise, we don't have a business. And I was like, okay, cool. I don't like it. I'm probably going to slightly be kicking and screaming, but it gives me an opportunity to untell myself all the things I told myself in the past, to really push through the uncomfortable, because only when you push through the uncomfortable do you get the rewards on the other side. So I truly believe that, and so I started doing more of it, and then I am now at a point where I'm not great at it. I definitely don't want to say that, but I am actually enjoying the process of learning and doing it, and hopefully continue to get better at it.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't remember what your question was, but
well, so yeah, I asked if you like being the front role, the front person is being, and also being an introvert. Yeah. So it seems that you have grown into an understanding of how to use or the benefits, I guess, is what I'm hearing. The benefits of doing this thing that you initially have a hard time fitting yourself into that role. The benefits outweigh any downsides.
Yeah, and I think the thing too is like when we start labeling ourselves things, and that's the day. I mean, I think we all have to, because it's a mental shortcut that we need to take. But when we do start going like, I'm an introvert, and that means certain things, that's when we actually start to limit ourselves. Mm-hmm. So I know I freely shared that I am an introvert, but I think that doesn't mean that doesn't mean that I can't do this kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
it's a tendency.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the thing. We definitely don't want to get caught up in thinking that because of certain things we tell ourselves that we can't. Yeah, that we just can't do more.
Right. Yeah. Chad's got another question here. Being an introvert, how did you make such a huge life change? Since it would seem it was very stressful for most, or for many introverts that he knows. And I agree with him. I think introverts have a hard time stepping outside or too far outside, the walls of safety.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and this is again the generalizations of introverts, I guess, because I guess you have introverts who do, because of that label, they do close themselves off from others and from being, what am I trying to say? I guess the way that I've approached it was like, how do I keep myself open?
Mm-hmm.
How do I keep myself open to not only to other people, so because through that you get into really great conversations like this, which can change your perspective, or it can give you an idea, or it can give you, the sometimes that kick in the butt, or whatever that you might need to do something different. And so I think I don't know whether it's the introversion a bit about people that might hold them back or that makes it stressful, but it might just be more so the other things, like the fact that, is it because they need certainty in their lives, for example? That's not an introversion. I know a lot of extroverts who need certainty in their lives, is it, and look, to be fair, I was a lot like that as well, right? Is it because, there's a need that they have about feeling significant in just the thing that they're doing, because they know it so well and that's what they're comfortable doing, and they know that, if they go anywhere out of that, they're going to have to, in a way, start at the bottom and learn it and go back. Is it that, rather than it being because they're an introvert? So I'd just be really curious actually to know, Chad, from your perspective, those introverts that you do know that get stressed out about making decisions or whatever, or making life changes, what is it about, what else, if we dig a little bit deeper around, their introversion or non-introversion, what else might there be in their lives that's playing out, that's making it so stressful?
No, that's a good point. I think I know a number of people. I'm kind of one of them who fear is the kind of primary motivator. And I've learned that fear is the gateway to growth. And so where I am most afraid probably is where I need to move. And it's because fear, the fear is a symptom of what I think is going to occur when I do such and such. So if I make this change, like you've moved from, Australia to New York City. If I make this change to New York City, I'm going to lose this. I'm going to lose this. I'm not going to have this. All right. All these things, all the lists of I'm nots and won'ts.
Yes.
And I was having breakfast with some friends, and it was last spring or something like that, prior to COVID. And I was remarking on something I was interested in doing, and they were like, she stopped me and she's like, wait, what? Why do you always think of all the ways this could go bad? Where's this idea of like, yeah, but what if it's great? And it's interesting because for me, I have a tendency to create a lot of things. I do a lot of stuff. Like, Coffee with Humans was just like, hey, I'm going to put myself out there and say, if does anyone want to have coffee with me? And it's sure enough, it's like boom, 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 boom. It just has grown exponentially, and my calendar is booked out. But the fear in that, which I decided to overcome, was, but can I just have a raw and filtered conversation, and is it okay? Yes. If I'm just me on this conversation instead of the version of me that I think would be acceptable to everybody else who's listening. That's that fear thing, which I've just decided that life is short, and whether you're fearful or whether you're not, kind of doesn't change things, except the one known is that if you're fearful and you delay on things, then eventually it's too late. That's the one thing you can guarantee. It's eventually too late. So why not try it? That. And I think it was Jeff Bezos who said something like, maybe it wasn't him, but it was something about like, once 80% of the information, just make the decision and be done. I was talking to a guy who actually used to work at Amazon or work with Amazon. And he says, actually in Amazon, it's more like once 40 or 50% of the information move. And he says, and sometimes it might be a little bit too fast. And it's sort of breakneck speed of changing things. But then I also couple that with, and I don't know who said this idea that most decisions in life can just be taken back. So let's say you travel to New York City. What's the worst that could happen? You decide it's not for you and you go home to Australia, right? Yeah. But looking into these decisions, many times they seem like this is the make or break moment. I can't go back. It's like, no, you can. You by going forward, by learning something new, you can end up back in the same place to, physically or something, but you'll always gain experience.
Totally. Yeah. I love that.
It seems like you're a lifelong learner. I mean, I know that's kind of a buzzword, right? But you've kind of fallen in love with the process of growth, rather than your fear of not, talking to people.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that was always one of the things that I don't know where I got this from, but I've always lived by this thing of not wanting to live with regret. And so I think it's like whether it's an opportunity, whether it's, and no matter how hard it is to make the decision or to say yes or whatever, it's like, if it's kind of like for you, right? You made a decision, you stepped into the uncomfortability. And that is the strongest thing that you can do, is to just do it, to know that, to feel the fears, to know that they're there, but just do it anyway. And I had to battle with myself a lot to be able to, and I still battle with myself. Sometimes I'm like, even now, I'm like, oh, I really need to go for a run. It's cold. Okay, that's a really silly example, but and I'm battling with myself to be like, no, this is going to be a good experience. Push through the uncomfortableness of, freezing, and because on the other side is the great stuff.
It reminds me of, I did some team building stuff, and actually outdoor education. That's what I did. See team building as well at the same time, but I did outdoor education for students, little itty bitties, like first grade, second grade, third grade type thing. And we would be walking through the woods, and it was a local YMCA camp, and there's like 20 or 30 of them around there, and I know how to bring teams together. So I would like bring these 20 or 30 little cats running around. I bring them together, and we would walk through the woods. And part of the idea was to teach them about stuff, like teach them about leaves and trees and frogs and all sorts of stuff. And I know a lot about a lot of things, but I know nothing about like types of trees. and the little kids, they'd be like, Mr. Todd, what tree is that? And I'd be like, and I would learn about like, well, that's a great question. What tree do you think it is? And they'd be like, I don't know. Like, well, let's get out our book. How might we find out? Right. And then I had somebody in charge of this little like pamphlet thing of, let's look at the leaf and how many serrations does it have? And then next step 2 is this, and step 3. And I realized at that point that it's not about what I know. It's about the process to get there. And if I can work the process, I'll learn so much more. And it'll be transferable to other situations. Just like, working with these little kids now has made me more comfortable in situations where I don't really know what's going on. I don't know the specifics of it, but I have processes that I'll follow and I'll get there. And that I think is that process of growth, particularly for people who struggle with, well, I can't do that. You probably had lunch with people who are just like, oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. It's like, that's nonsense. It's it's bullshit. Yeah. You can do it. You haven't done it yet. Yeah. And you're afraid for sure, but you absolutely can do all sorts of things that you have not yet done.
Exactly. And what I love about that story actually, that you told was, in a way, obviously you were being resourceful, but then you're teaching these little kids how they can start to be resourceful, which I think a lot of us, for whatever reason, don't sometimes all have or lean into, is how can you actually, because we're all, as humans, we are all resourceful. We can all find a solution or, a way out, as you said, even if something fails, like we can always do that decision in some way. But I think, that's the thing. I think we have to just be confident in our resourcefulness to be able to do those things, to be able to problem solve, to be able to get ourselves out of situations that we might not ideally want to be in. So I think that's a Yeah, totally. That, definitely as, as a business owner, I think that's almost one of the biggest traits that you have to have is resourcefulness, for sure. Because things are always going to come up. Things are always not going to go well. Things are always going to be stressful. It's always going to be pressure. There's always going to be all the bad things. But as long as you can be resourceful, then those bad things actually become a little bit fun because process, as you said, is the fun part because you're learning through that. So I totally agree with what you said. But yeah, sorry.
So living in New York City as an introvert, I've been to New York City twice, maybe 3 times. I find it exhausting and overwhelming.
It is.
After just like 6 minutes.
I mean, to be fair, it hasn't been too bad in this period.
That's true. It's not New York City as like New York City should and could and usually is.
Yeah.
But how do you develop, or what coping skills have you developed as you, right? The totality of you. And I don't want to just, check the box that you're an introvert and stick you in it. But the totality of you, how have you developed coping skills in an environment that is not your norm?
Well, I do try to stay away from the super populated places. So things like Times Square and stuff, like unless I'm trying to get from A to B and I have to go through there. When it was, pre-COVID, it was like there was no such thing as personal space there, So I do try to avoid places like that because I just, but otherwise, right now, for example, I am more of a morning person. So things like going running and stuff, I'll actually do quite like around 7 a.m. And I find, because there's no one's, silly enough to be up at that time, seemingly over here. So I kind of have Central Park to myself in a way, which is great because I don't have, I kind of don't have to deal with people. Whereas I know that if I go running in the afternoon, for example, there's like a lot more people out there, out and about. So I try to avoid, so as much as possible, I just try to avoid those times, those places, unless I can't. But sometimes even as an introvert, I do like being around, happening. So when I feel like, when I get that feeling, then we'll go out and we'll be amongst it as well. So I'll just come home and, like, as I said, just be exhausted and fall straight asleep. But yeah, so sometimes when the want strikes, then yeah, we definitely flex into it.
I found for myself, I learned this a handful of years ago that noise canceling headphones made a world of difference for my I don't want to say mental health. That seems a little bit extreme, but like I'll go shopping at big box store or whatever, and I'll walk around with my headphones on. And I'm just like zoned out. I'm bopping around. I was singing at the store the other day, and I'm sure that people thought he's crazy, but it's like, why should I be any, like, we're all crazy. So what's it to you if I'm buying vegetables and cheese and singing to some, pop song? But also, like, from a work standpoint, I would sit in Starbucks with my headphones on because I wanted to be around people, but I didn't want to be I didn't want to listen to their music. I didn't want to listen to them. Yeah. And I would disappear for hours, just me and my headphones, typey on my computer.
Yeah, totally. I'm the same as well. And I just find like sometimes, like, the music thing is a really good example of just getting in the zone wherever you are. I have this ability. I don't know how this happened, but even if I put something on TV, like I'll put a movie on, that somehow focuses me to be able to, like, smash out work.
Really?
To watch it, but I'm like, I don't know why. I don't know what it is. I'm just like, it just gets me in the zone. It's a really bizarre thing that I found. So I totally understand with you, like, getting the music, putting the headphones on, and just
I've put trance music, like trance or techno music on with no words. That's for me. I can't have words because then I keep on thinking of the words and trying to understand the words, and I lose focus of what I'm working on. I have to just have music.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. No,
at least when I'm thinking.
Yeah, I actually probably prefer to have words. I don't think I have the patience for music that has no words. I don't know why. I just can't, like. Or it has to be like, so my husband is a huge fan of the Vitamin String Quartet. They do basically covers of, all really popular pop songs and stuff, but just as strings, like, and so I can do that. So there's no words because they're just playing instruments. But what I'll do is I'll just fill the words in like as it's playing. But I can still I've never actually sat down long enough to actually think about why and how I do that. How I can still listen to the words or be thinking about the words or watching something and still, focus. I don't know.
The reason it comes up in my mind is because I've been I would say I'm probably a chronic overthinker in an effort to like you talk, like in an effort to make things manageable. Yeah. Especially when they become more unmanageable, I try and oh my gosh, bring them in and develop a process around it or something like that instead of just getting stuff done, which is probably to my detriment. I should probably just get stuff done. But from a process standpoint, I've often thought about what environment makes me the best for a particular task, right? So what does an office environment look like? What does a working environment look like? What music do I need? What sounds, who needs to be around? Who doesn't need to be around? To be able to optimize that. And I've felt it very, very poignantly when I'm well away from the space that works. All of a sudden my not just by productivity, but my feelings about, like you talk about flow, like making, getting in the groove. I get out of the groove. I just can't get into it.
Right. That's super interesting. I always have like moments when I'm out of the groove and in the groove. I think we all do, to be honest. I'll sometimes I'm a bit, and I saw Chad's, asking me if I'm a big foodie. That's actually one of my vices, because that's definitely one of my procrastination tactics is, I'm just going to get some food.
Yeah. Do you make food or you go out for food?
Okay. So in Sydney, we have, so our businesses, we have dessert bars and we have burger bars. So you can see that, already a foodie. But I actually don't enjoy cooking. So my husband he loves cooking. He loves baking. Seriously, I had to tell him to stop making so much desserts over here in New York because he just cannot stop himself from there's brownies, there's apple pies, there's there's cakes, there's literally I cannot run enough to keep this stuff off. But he loves it, and so we do. So he does cook quite a bit, but we also do go out in New York quite a bit. It's really funny because I have actually found, and I don't think I'm biased, but the food in Sydney is actually better than it is here in New York.
How so? In what way? To you? I mean, how do you characterize it?
Yeah, so I think it's the variety of food. So the types of cuisines that you can have, there's just a lot more, to my knowledge anyway. I mean, maybe, and I'd love if anyone is watching and, knows New York, if they have any great recommendations. But I've just found, do you do like pizza? Yes. Maybe this should be pizza with humans. So there's a lot of pizza in New York for sure, which I have to say is better. So that's one of the things that is better over here.
Okay.
But I've definitely found the mix of, all the different types of Asian cuisines, for example, all the different types of other cuisines. So here there's probably a little bit more of an emphasis on Italian for sure, and maybe Mexican, which makes, I guess makes sense. But I think in Australia, there's probably just a more diverse mix of cuisines. And I'd have to say maybe, I don't know if it's the ingredients or something, there's just something a little bit more, I don't know. It feels like there's just more depth in some of the food and some of the flavor in the, Defara. Okay. I'm going to have to check that one out. Thanks, Chad.
Chad's your new best bud.
Yeah, I know. I'll make a make it out to Brooklyn. And
I think Chad is offering to buy us all food in Brooklyn. I think that's what I heard in that. Thanks,
awesome.
Chad.
I'm up for that.
You said you have burger bars and you have dessert bars?
Yes.
I'm curious. What's burger bar? You got me intrigued now. Do you have a website?
Yeah, Stacks on. So it's STAXON burgers.com.au, I believe.
What? That's what I'm talking about. Oh, yeah. I hope I've got this right. This will be awkward if I don't.
Because you'd be like, this is amazing. I'll be like, oh, that's not ours. Yeah, that's it.
What?
Yeah. So that's our burger place. And then
that is a very, very fine looking burger.
Yeah, and our sides are actually phenomenal. So we do like sweet potato chips, tater tots.
What?
All with different types of salts. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You had me at burger.
You should check out go to thechockpot.com.au. So it's the chockpot.
The chockpot?
Yeah.
.com.au?
Yeah.
I might not. How do I spell it?
Chock THECHOCPOT.com. Maybe just try .com. Oh, that's weird.
The CHOCK?
Let me just try it on here and see if it's not working. Oh no, it's working. Yeah, so THECHOCPOT.com.
THECHOC. Oh, I had a K in there.
Oh, okay.
What?
Yeah. So that's our signature dessert.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Ooh, check that out.
Yeah. Those are waff nuts. Yeah. So that's so those are the two businesses that we have in Sydney. So if you guys are ever in Sydney, go check it out. Literally the best burgers, best desserts.
Oh, Renee Kessler here says yum.
Yeah.
Renee is an avid adventurer. She's been adventuring her entire life.
Well, there you go. Next stop, Sydney.
Right? Chad did say you and your husband, Defara in Brooklyn.
Oh, okay. Are you in Brooklyn, Chad?
Chad is not in Brooklyn. He's in Illinois. But he's a traveler. So I'm pretty sure he can figure out a way to make it to Brooklyn.
Yeah, for sure. Hit me up, definitely.
Well, that looks delicious. I'm an avid cook. I love cooking, and I find that cooking is kind of how do I describe this? Cooking is just like, I don't know. I love the process of just slowing down and making something that I really like.
Yeah.
That's all. It's like, okay, is it super great? I don't know, but I love experimenting with it.
Yeah.
And I'm probably above average.
That's good.
Right? I know. If I was a terrible cook, then,
as long as you that's cool. That's cool for you to be a terrible cook. But I actually don't have the patience for it.
No?
Which is why I don't enjoy cooking. But my husband is just like you. Like, he loves the experimentation. He loves, I think, creating something. So he's happy to cook and not even eat any of it, or not eat much of it. But he just loves putting different flavors together. I think he gets a kick out of being able to do something that he thought couldn't be done a certain way, and almost cracking the code as such. Ooh, is that yours?
That's breakfast the other day.
Nice.
And it's super easy to make. It's a frozen biscuit from Walmart. Don't judge me. that bakes in like 20 minutes, and then an egg, obviously, with a frozen sausage patty with cheddar cheese, and then just a little bit of fat to give it some flavor.
Gotta have the fat for sure.
I can't remember who I was reading, but fat is the carrier of the flavor. People don't know that. They try and go low fat, but you also go low flavor when you do that, because fat is where the flavor is soluble in the fat, not in any other liquids in there. But the flavor is soluble. Sorry, I'm fumbling all over my words. The flavor is soluble in the fat, and so you have to have a sufficient amount of fat, and that's why I love me an egg McMuffin. But in a Jason McBiscuit is just as good.
Might have to do a taste test. I think we do a blind taste. Like I do like a sausage and egg McMuffin. That's my McDonald's breakfast of choice. Okay. So we might need to make this happen. McDonald's, Jason's.
As a burger, okay, all right, I'm down with that. As a burger aficionado, I'd love your take on this. Okay. Let me describe it. You're like, what the hell is that? You're like, that's not a burger. Okay, so here's what this is.
Up here.
I'll take cooking lessons from your husband. So this is a frozen burger. Because I'm going on the cheap here. A frozen burger with it's actually a mozzarella cheese, which is a little bit flavorless, but it's a mozzarella cheese because it's what I had. And then I took sauerkraut with ketchup and some, I think it actually might have some pickle juice in there as well. And I heated that up, and now so it's ketchup sauerkraut on there, and then the juice the juice around there.
It kind of sounds like you're just trying to clear out your pantry.
It's what I do. I look at the things that I've got. My daughter hates it, but I look at the things that I've got, and I'm like, you know what we're doing? Oh my God. For a long time ago, I made this thing for my boys. I called it hot kerbobble. And they loved it. They would ask for hot kerbobble. And what it was they wanted some food, and I was with them, and I was like, I'll make you food. And so I took
like, please no.
I took shaved meat, like lunch meat, and some cheese, and I put it in the microwave and just microwaved it until it was warm. I think it might have been like ham or roast beef, I don't know, with some cheese. I just put it in the microwave until it was warm and bubbly. And then they're like, oh my gosh, this is great. What do you call it? And I was like, hot kerbobble. It was totally made up. I haven't thought about that in years.
There you go.
I'm glad we're talking about food.
Got to bring it back out.
Well, so that's not that. But seriously, that wasn't too bad. You might. Okay, I'll give you. It's too bad you don't have pictures you can share with us. You have pictures. You had your fancy pictures. Here's my fancy picture. This is a crostini.
Okay.
It's
I like this game. It's kind of like guess the dish.
Yeah, it's homemade tomato sauce with some fresh basil. I grow it inside during the winter, so it's fresh basil with some cheese and on day-old crust.
Yes.
That has also been lightly toasted with a bit of grapeseed oil, so it doesn't have the heaviness of olive oil.
Yeah, that really does sound delightful.
It was delicious. Anyhow, I won't bore you anymore with my photos. Well,
it's true what Chad's saying, right? Food connects people.
Oh, Chad, you're right. That's true. You know what? Isn't that the vulnerable part of living, right? Is sitting around a meal with people, because now you have to listen to them eat. You have to see how they eat. Are they choppers? Or do they know that God made lips so that they would close?
Well,
while
I
you're
mean, I
eating.
never really thought about it like that, but now that's all I'm going to be thinking about when I'm eating with someone. So thank you, Jason.
Oh my God. I have a problem. I hear like chewing noises. There's a word for it. It's some problem word. I cannot stand chewing noises.
Right. Okay. So what you're saying is that you are not going to come get pizza with us.
I'll overlook it. I'll overlook it for you guys.
As long as we don't chew noisily. All right. So
Right.
got it. Pro
No
tip.
chopper. I don't know. That's funny. Oh boy. Well, this is fun. So this is so good. I'm so glad that you joined me on Coffee with Humans. So your Saxon Burger place, that's super awesome. And then your dessert place too. I don't know if I'll be in Sydney anytime soon, so I'm probably not going to be able to partake in any of that.
No,
And it seems an awfully long way to go for dinner.
just saying it's worth it. I mean, yeah, like it's, would you prefer to come to Brooklyn or Sydney? I don't know.
Brooklyn's easier.
Yeah, and I guess now, so those are the businesses back in Sydney, and if you know anyone who has an e-commerce business and needs help growing it, then Growth Boss is also, that's what we're doing here. So
Growth Boss.
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you have this? So how did you gain that skill? I know we only have a couple minutes left, but real quick, give us the synopsis. How did you move from food to e-commerce consulting?
Yeah, so there was this obviously this whole time in the middle of that where we were actually my co-founder now and we actually worked with e-commerce businesses. So we actually started with a done for you service where we were helping them with their marketing, with their digital marketing, and then we actually wanted to create leverage because obviously when you're doing done for you, you're capped with your time, and so we transformed it into more of a coaching business instead, so that we could essentially help give the tools to business owners so that they could do these things themselves. So that's kind of how we got there in a really quick way.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Have you found the business is better or worse during COVID? Or would you not, or is it neither? Like it's not a COVID issue?
It's interesting. I found that there's been a lot more new businesses. I think that's come about because of COVID. Obviously, either people have been bored at home, or unfortunately have been laid off, or so with given the circumstances, there's been a lot more new businesses. But I don't know whether I would say that the quality of them is necessarily great. Sometimes I think it is just sheer need and needing to do something different or something else, something extra. So I don't know how to answer that, because it's just been a strange time just because of the amount that's been sort of the amount of new businesses. It's hard to tell. It's kind of skewing the data a little bit, I think.
Alrighty. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
You're committed now, Chad. You're online here.
We can definitely connect.
Chad's a great guy. You'll definitely love him. He's
awesome.
Much friendlier than me.
Well, I'm totally up for it, because we definitely have to build out our networks in the States, because we came over and we didn't know anyone. So that's probably the other reason why I was like, why not? Let's have coffee. I need to get out and meet new people.
Totally. Well, I love connecting with new people, and even though I'm an introvert, it has been super beneficial, not only personally, just to meet new people who I love hearing people's stories and learning new things myself, and sharing just in a raw, like I said, raw, unfiltered environment. But also, from a business perspective, we do business with people that we know, like, and trust. So get to know people, like people, and I've found when I've needed to reach out for stuff, people take my call in a lot of cases, and that's been super valuable for me professionally. It's honestly just been rewarding. I mean, the whole idea of Coffee with Humans is to kind of wipe away the idea that regardless of of what we do, where we're located, we at the end of the day are just human, and we have needs, we have desires, we got fears, we got hopes, dreams, all these things that are common to all of us. And if we can connect on those levels, I think we have the opportunity to make the world a better place. So, but then how we express that, in our businesses is really up to us.
100%. And what, just really quickly, I know we're over time, but what do you do? What's your business?
I do business advisory work. So I work with organizations to help them solve meaningful, measurable problems.
Awesome.
I would term myself an interventionist. So I'm really good in the spot where people are stuck.
Yeah.
And I've been so often stuck that I know how to get unstuck.
Yeah.
And I have a deep network of people, and I've been a lifelong learner, and so I know all sorts of things.
Awesome.
And I know people who know all the things I don't know. So.
Okay. Well, I'm sure that, at some point I might reach out and be like, I'm stuck, Jason. Help me.
Maybe anytime. Seriously, anytime. Call me up. Hit me up, and I'll point you in the right direction. And if I can help you out, I'll totally help you out. But we're at the end of our time now. So, Dierdre, this has been great. I saw the sun slowly go down behind you.
Yeah, it's pitch black now.
It looks like in the middle of the night. So thanks for spending your evening with us.
No problem. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
This is great. So you hold on the line for a little bit. I'm going to play a little outro for all of our viewers. Thanks, everybody, for watching Coffee with Humans. Go make the world a better place, one conversation at a time.
One of the things I love about Coffee with Humans are the raw conversations I get to have, meeting new people just like you. If you or someone you know should be on Coffee with Humans, go to coffeewithhumans.com. Remember, the only rule is no sales calls.
This has been Coffee with Humans. Subscribe to get updates or click to have coffee with me. coffeewithhumans.com.